You know those people who just seem to navigate life effortlessly? They always say the right thing at the right time, they never seem stressed, and somehow they're always in the right place when opportunities arise. How do they do it? Well, 300 years ago, a Spanish priest named Baltasar Gracián, or Gracian, wrote a book called The Art of Worldly Wisdom. It's basically a cheat code for life, a collection of 300 short, powerful maxims that teach you how to be smarter, more strategic, and ultimately more successful. Now you might be thinking, wait, a priest wrote a book on success strategies? Yep, and he wasn't just a priest. Gracian was one of the most pragmatic thinkers of his time. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Success Bureau, where we break down the greatest books in history, from ancient wisdom to modern productivity, extracting their most powerful ideas and applying them to real life. And today we have something very special, one of my all-time favourites, a hidden gem that teaches something that we'd all like to learn: how to win at life, or as this book calls it, the art of worldly wisdom. Before we dive into the strategies, let's talk about the man behind them. Baltasar Gracian was born in 1601 in Spain and became a Jesuit priest. But unlike most religious thinkers of his time, Gracian wasn't writing about heaven and hell, he was writing about how to survive and thrive in the real world. He was deeply observant, and he noticed how easily people were manipulated, how power often went to the cunning, and how success wasn't just about talent. It was about timing, perception, and restraint. He lived in a time when politics were brutal, social climbing was cutthroat, and a single misstep could destroy your reputation. So he wrote The Art of Worldly Wisdom, 300 bite-sized lessons to help you navigate all of that. And the craziest part? It reads like it could have been written last week. It's timeless. The book has influenced thinkers from Nietzsche to Nassim Taleb, and it's quietly been the go-to manual for anyone who wants to move through the world with intelligence and impact. Not through manipulation, but through strategy, self-awareness, and grace. At its core, Gracian's philosophy comes down to this: life is a game of nuance. It's not about brute force. It's not even about being the smartest. It's about knowing how to apply wisdom with precision. You can have all the right skills, but if you speak at the wrong moment or say the right thing to the wrong person, you might miss the opportunity entirely. He teaches us how to move deliberately, how to say less but mean more, and how to win without making enemies. He believed that most people waste their potential not because they lack ability, but because they don't know how to play the game. And that's why these principles are so valuable today. We're living in a world that rewards perception, strategy, and timing more than ever. And that's what we're diving into today. The 5 key lessons from the art of worldly wisdom that will completely change the way you approach life, success, and relationships. Let's get started. Gracian says, the first thing to do in life is to learn how to live. Now that might sound obvious, but how many people actually take time to learn how to live? Most of us just react. We get stressed, we let our emotions dictate our decisions, and we end up making choices we regret. But here's the truth: the most powerful people in the world aren't the strongest or the smartest. They're the ones who can control themselves. There's an old proverb that says, "He who masters himself is stronger than he who conquers a city." Because here's the thing: the biggest battles you'll ever fight are the ones inside your own head. Think about a high-stress situation. Maybe you're in a business meeting, negotiating a deal, or dealing with a difficult client. If you lose your temper, you lose control of the situation. But if you stay calm and composed, suddenly you're the one in charge. Take Warren Buffett. He says one of the biggest keys to success is emotional stability. He doesn't make investment decisions based on fear or greed. He stays level-headed no matter what. So the lesson here: control your emotions or they'll control you. How can we learn to control our emotions? Try the 5-second pause. Before reacting emotionally, whether it's an email, a conversation, or a stressful situation, pause for 5 seconds. Take a deep breath. This tiny gap between stimulus and response gives you control over your emotions instead of letting them control you. It may sound simple, but it's effective and can become a positive habit if practiced. Gracian says, a wise man does not make a fool of himself by giving way to emotions. Basically, it doesn't matter how smart you are. If you can't control how people perceive you, you'll struggle. We like to think that the world is fair, that people judge us based on our skills and intelligence. But that's not how it works. People judge you based on what they see. There's a saying, what you see is what you believe. First impressions count. Think about it. Who would you trust more? Someone who walks into a room with confidence, speaks clearly, and carries themselves well, or someone who looks unsure, fidgets, and avoids eye contact? Even in business, personal branding is everything. Steve Jobs understood this. He didn't just sell computers, he sold a vision. He dressed a certain way, spoke a certain way, and created an aura of genius around him. So, what's the lesson? You don't just need to be good, you need to look the part. Try using the 2% rule. You don't need to change everything overnight, just improve how you present yourself by 2% each time you walk into a room, a meeting, or a social setting. That could mean standing a little taller, making slightly stronger eye contact, or slowing down your speech just a little. Over time, these tiny adjustments compound into a powerful presence. When is just as important as knowing how. Gracian says, there is a time for everything, and nothing is done without proper timing. If you've ever watched a great comedian, you know that timing is everything. The best joke in the world will fall flat if the timing's off. And the same goes for success. Malcolm Gladwell said, the secret of success is timing. Think about investing. If you buy into a stock too early, you might not see any returns for years. If you wait too long, you miss the opportunity. Timing is everything. Or let's say you have a great idea for a business. If you launch it too early, before people are ready for it, it will fail. If you wait too long, someone else will beat you to it. This applies to everything. When to speak in a meeting, when to negotiate, when to walk away from a deal. Success isn't just about what you do, it's about when you do it. Try using this old classic, the 24-hour rule. If it's not urgent, sleep on it. Give yourself 24 hours before making big decisions, especially ones driven by emotion or pressure. The next day, things always look clearer. This works for responding to difficult emails, committing to new projects, or making financial moves. Gracian says, a man's reputation is like the shadow of a mountain. If the mountain is too tall, the shadow will always fall behind it. Your reputation follows you everywhere. It can open doors for you, or it can close them before you even get a chance. That's why Jeff Bezos says, your reputation is more important than your paycheck. Why do some people get job offers without even applying? Why do some businesses get massive investments while others struggle? Because of relationships. Look at Warren Buffett. His success isn't just about making good investments. It's about who he knows, who he learns from, and who he works with. So the key takeaway, your network is your net worth. Build strong, strategic relationships, and you'll find that opportunities start coming your way naturally. Try the 1-minute favour. If you want to strengthen your network and build goodwill, do one small favour for someone every day. Something that takes less than a minute. Send an encouraging email, introduce 2 people, or share someone's work. Over time, this builds trust, influence, and long-term relationships that will open unexpected doors. Gracian says, say little and that little well. In today's world of constant noise, endless opinions, and 24/7 content, saying less is often the most powerful move you can make. There's a reason why the most successful people in a room are usually the quietest. They listen more, then they speak. They choose their words carefully, and when they do speak, people listen. This principle reminds me of the idea from Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. Always say less than necessary. It's not about being mysterious, it's about being intentional. The more you talk, the more likely you are to say something you'll regret or give away too much. Gracian knew that words are tools, and like any tool, the sharper and more sparing they are, the more effective they become. Try saying 20% less. Next time you're in a conversation, especially one that matters, try saying 20% less than you normally would. You'll be surprised how much more power your words carry when they're not lost in the noise. Here are my 5 favourite quotes from The Art of Worldly Wisdom. The first one is my all-time favourite. Festina lente is a royal motto. Festina lente means make haste slowly, and it's about striking a balance between urgency and control. We need action, but we also need to be looking where we're going. The wise man does at once what the fool does at last. This is Gracian at his sharpest. Procrastination isn't neutral, it's costly. It creates a vacuum where someone else will move first. He's not glorifying speed, but timely action. Preparation is valuable, but decision followed by action is where things start to move. Delayed action often means lost opportunity. Don't express your ideas too clearly. This is a strategic move. If you say too much, you lose leverage. Influence often depends on suggestion rather than explanation. Leave space. Let others interpret. Gracian understood that the clearest message isn't always the most effective. Sometimes subtlety creates strength. Never contend with a man who has nothing to lose. Some battles are unwinnable. Not because you're wrong, but because your opponent is reckless. If someone has no reputation, no pride, no resources to protect, they'll drag everything down with them. Step away. Your energy is better spent on fights with purpose. Be able to forget. This is a survival skill. Forget what's already been settled. Forget slights. Forget what drains your focus. Gracian doesn't mean careless forgetfulness, he means selective memory. Let go of the things that anchor you to your past so that you can move freely in the present. So, why should we revisit this 17th century book in the age of ChatGPT, LinkedIn hustle posts and endless productivity hacks? Because the game hasn't changed, just the tools have. Human nature is the same as it was when Gracian was around. We're still trying to succeed, influence, build relationships, and avoid being taken advantage of. The setting is different, but the underlying dynamics are exactly the same. Whether you're navigating office politics, launching a business, trying to grow a personal brand, or just aiming to be more effective in your day-to-day life, these principles work. I highly recommend that you pick up a copy for yourself. It's not a very long book, and you can dive in and out of it time and time again and learn something new each time. If any of these ideas stood out to you, let me know in the comments. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. And if you want to keep learning success strategies from history's greatest minds, please consider subscribing to the channel. And I'll see you guys next time.